My goodness, I am still reeling from that Alec Baldwin finale. I wanted to bring Christopher Melcher in to discuss it, as well as could the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed case now be dismissed? Let's break it all down. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. So glad to have Christopher Melcher back. Thank God we're not still stuck out there in New Mexico, huh? That was quick. You planned that trip perfectly. Welcome back. I first just, have you seen anything that crazy where the prosecutor gets put on the stand to then be grilled by the defense? I mean, it was literally like a series finale to a TV show. What was your reaction watching this?
It was shocking, and I was dumbfounded by the whole thing. I mean, initially when we did the stream earlier in the morning, as I was leaving to go to Vegas with my kid to get a little time off, I thought, look, this is probably just one of these rulings that's going to go to the weight of the evidence, let the jury decide. And then it just, as I was making my way out of town and following it, it was just absolutely unfolding. And there was another case, the Fonnie Willis prosecution in Georgia. She took the stand, similar kind of bravado, like I've done nothing wrong and I'm going to march into court and show that I actually did something wrong. Really, really incredible. But, there's so many tragic elements around this thing, to Alec, to the other prosecutor, to the victims here that were, the subject of this prosecution or incident. So we can kind of unfold all this, but this case was not that interesting, honestly, before, but then it just kind of went into this bizarre
if you
land.
missed it, I'll put it at the end of this. You can watch it or click it. But just the sort of recap is that Alex Spiro, the defense, was trying to say, things were being, there was corruption. There was just things being hidden. They had it out for Alec. And even I was like, we were both just like, yeah, get to the point, who pulled the trigger. But as things went crazy, one of the detectives came up, and then it was asked, and then we learned that the prosecution knew that they were not only like hiding evidence, but they were putting it on different case numbers. When you say that there were discussions and decision was made by all of you to put that ammo in a separate file, was Miss Morrisey, the prosecution, part of that decision? Yes. The case was collapsing. The courtroom gasped as Morrisey then acknowledged that her co-prosecutor was resigned during the trial. And then, yes, they asked her to step up and take the stand. This was interesting because the fellow prosecutor, I liked her a lot. This Erlinda Johnson was really well spoken, was doing a great job in her opening, and kudos to her. I mean, do you think this? I want to get to like how this is going to affect these lawyers and Hannah. To me, as the takeaway here. But
I
here's her
learned
quick
about
comment.
this evidence when the public learned about it yesterday late afternoon. As I don't know if you're aware, I actually came on this case kind of late in the game. I came on the case towards the end of April, so I had to get up to speed. I was not involved in the Hannah Gutierrez case at all. And so I was not aware that this individual had taken this ammunition to the sheriff's department and provided it to the officers. I learned all of that yesterday when Mr. Spiro was cross-examining the crime scene technician.
So she wasn't cool with this. She also goes on to say that she thought they had a good case against him. All the stuff we wanted, it sounds like she was ready to bring it regarding his responsibility. Do you think she is going to, get some backlash, or do you applaud her for stepping out the way she did?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in one moment we saw one attorney acting really poorly and another attorney acting properly. And that's what was just, my takeaway as a lawyer. But yeah, we all have to remember here, these are not full-time prosecutors. This is a tiny little town, and they couldn't handle a case of this size, so they had to hire private attorneys to be special prosecutors. So Morrisey was the one that was on it, when this thing was retooled and refiled. She's the one who took the other ammunition, which she thought was irrelevant, and had it booked under this other case number so the defense team wouldn't see it. Then we have Ocampo Johnson, who we just heard from, step in April after the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed trial, and then trying to get up to speed. Ocampo Johnson, did the opening statement, and I thought that it was measured and professional. The other one, Morrisey, the lead one, was always like bothered and upset, and I thought it was just because of the personal attacks that are being made against her, that she was just reacting to that. But obviously these personal attacks were appropriate. Turned out that she was committing misconduct. That is what we call a Brady violation. It's a constitutional right of the criminal defendant to have all information that could be useful, not necessarily that would show that they're innocent, which these bullets had in no way going to show that he's innocent of the charges, but they could have made some use to them, and it's for the defense to decide whether to use it or not for a prosecutor to hide it. So that is a constitutional violation of Alec Baldwin's rights, and also an ethical violation that she could and probably should suffer some state bar consequences for. This other attorney came in when we all learned about this, and she's evaluating it, and she's saying, I can no longer proceed with this case. I demand that it be dismissed. Morrisey said no, and Ocampo Johnson said, I'm out. And
so Johnson gets a break from you. I was just going to say, because now Morrissey, who we're going to focus now on, here's her statement after all this went down.
I understand that the court disagrees with me, and I respect the court's decision.
But
there is absolutely no evidence that any of that ammunition is related to the incident involving Ms. Hutchins.
So the judge is wrong?
No, I said that I respect the court's decision. I think that people can disagree. I'm disappointed because I believe that the importance of the evidence was misconstrued by the defense attorneys, but I have to respect the court's decision.
Do you feel you let the Hutchins family down?
Do you regret not turning over the ammunition?
Well, I didn't know that the ammunition that became the subject of today's hearing existed.
You still believe Mr. Baldwin was guilty?
That has never been a decision for me. That has always been a decision for the jury.
Did you let the Hutchins family down?
No, we didn't. We did everything humanly possible to bring justice to Helena and to her family, and we're proud of the work that we did. Again, we disagree with the court's decision, but we have to respect it.
So where do you go?
There it is. Do you think she let the family down? What is your reaction to these comments?
She let everybody down, including Alec. I mean, that when we look at this from all these levels, yeah, there were two people who shot, one were killed, and that's what the prosecution was about, to try and hold accountability. She let those folks down. She let the state of New Mexico down in wasting huge amount of resources. Again, small little county, they can't afford this. So that was a huge waste of time. Alec Baldwin, this was clearly unintentional. This guy was devastated by this incident, and here he's facing criminal prosecution, and to have, and all those comments that came out, Morrissey, if people didn't hear the testimony, she admitted to using some horrific language against Alec Baldwin, and, which shows that she would have some kind of animosity here that would lead her to get an unfair conviction. That came out. And then she's like, oh, but I love his movies. It was absolutely ridiculous. And again, this was not a decision on the merits, so it doesn't reflect whether he's guilty or innocent, but, why put him through all that process? This is supposedly an experienced attorney, and my thing is, she acted idiotically, because her whole explanation was that this ammunition that was turned over by a friend of Hannah Gutierrez's father to try and, help her out, had nothing to do with the case. Well, if it's irrelevant, then turn it over. What would be the point? What would be the risk for the prosecutor to turn over irrelevant evidence? Why put it under a different case number and hide it? It's asinine.
But is there a part where it's like it really wasn't connected? Do you think there is a part of this, or maybe she's being partly truthful and the defense was just really smartly jumping on and taking advantage of it? Like, at the end of the day, they're right. I think the right decision was made here, but could these boxes of just be brought in to be distractions that didn't really help Alec in his case?
Oh, I agree. I mean, I agree, and that's the position that I was taking earlier. On the kind of merits of this thing is that Alec was not being prosecuted for bringing live rounds on the set.
Right.
He was prosecuted for not having somebody check the gun for him before he pointed at these folks. So this ammunition certainly seemed like a ploy, potentially, of Hannah Gutierrez's father to try and save his daughter and to have this other evidence turned over. But there was Starline kind of related. It looked similar to the live round that was used. And again, the test is not, would this ammunition prove that he's guilty or not guilty? The test under Brady is whether it could be useful to the defense. And one of the theories of the defense, good or bad, is that somebody was potentially, put this ammunition into a box of dummy rounds for the purposes of setting up Alec Baldwin. Now, again, whether that's a great argument or not, but they have the right to run that argument. And so therefore it made the live rounds relevant.
So what could she have done? It's so hard that she was always giving this face to that jury. She seems so angry all the time. Could she have done such a poor job that Alec could actually sue the state for lawyer expenses? Is that possible?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it probably would be a federal case. We call it a 1983 action, which is for a deprivation of constitutional rights, which is what occurred. And it's not some people are saying malicious prosecution. It's not that, because this was not a determination on the merits. Okay, so the judge didn't say, you, Alec Baldwin, committed no harm or wrongs, and I'm freeing you from that. No, it was your rights to a fair trial were violated, Alec, so I'm dismissing the case. So a federal case, I would imagine, could be brought under 1983 against Morrisey individually and the state of New Mexico.
And then last question, how will this affect the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed case?
So this one's a little bit tougher. This ammunition that was supposedly found and afterwards and all this was turned over after the Hannah Gutierrez-Reed trial concluded. That's my understanding of the timeline. So it's not as if it was hidden during the Hannah trial. And again, I may be incorrect, but that's my understanding of the timeline is that it was not, this was booked as evidence post Hannah trial. Now, certainly if I got that mixed up and it was hidden from Hannah, she's going to be sprung today. That would be immediate dismissal of that case and Springer today. But I heard that it was afterwards. So what the defense would have to do is probably a habeas corpus petition and basically saying, even though we have a final conviction there at that trial, there's reasons to re-examine it. It was not fair to her. Look based on this new evidence and try to get her released pending a new trial is what her defense attorney said they're going to do.
Yeah, these two, I do think Alec and Hannah bear responsibility in this. So it is a massive frustration that this is blown up the way it is. I appreciate you coming in. Guys, make sure you go follow Christopher over on Twitter at @CA_divorce. You can find him there. He does a lot of theories and stuff when he has time. Always appreciate you, sir. We got more coming. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Hit that bell for alerts. Smash the like and leave a comment down below. Appreciate you guys so much.